This podcast was brought to you by AGS Agriculture Global Solutions, your partner for better oil palm farming.
We're really glad to be back.
Yeah, welcome back to the NPK School Series, everyone.
Yeah.
So in our previous discussions, we covered the big three, right? Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and their combination, NPK.
The heavy lifters, yeah.
Exactly. But now it is time for the micronutrients. I mean, these are the nutrients used in much, much smaller amounts, but they're still extremely important.
Crucial, really.
Yeah. And today's topic is entirely about boron. So we are going to cover why boron matters, exactly what it does in the plant, and the severe dangers of using it incorrectly or, not using it at all.
It's a topic that causes a lot of headaches in the field.
Oh, for sure. But hey, real quick, before we get into the source material, I want to pause and speak directly to you, our listener.
Right.
Because most of our listeners are actually not subscribed. We are a very small team, and we make these podcasts specifically to help improve oil palm farming practices.
That's the whole goal here.
Yeah, and we really need your help to continue. The easiest way to help is to subscribe. So please pause right now and hit subscribe. Thank you so much for your support.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We just established that N, P, and K are the bulk of a palm's diet. But if NPK is the fuel and the engine of the tree, what connects it all together?
That's where boron comes in.
Right, because I was thinking of an analogy. If nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium are like the bricks and the heavy wood used to build a house, is boron basically like the nails and screws?
Oh, absolutely.
Like you don't need a lot of them by weight, but without them, the whole house just falls apart.
That analogy is spot on. I mean, without those nails, you can't build any new rooms. In plain words, boron is essential for plant nutrition because it physically builds the structure of the plant.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and it moves energy around. It's like the traffic controller for the plant's sugar.
Okay, wait, traffic controller, let's break that down. Like what exactly is it doing inside the tree?
So it has a few key jobs. First, it forms the cell walls. When the plant creates a new cell, it uses boron to sort of glue the cell wall together. It gives it strength.
The structural integrity.
Exactly. Second, boron operates the tubes that move sugars from the leaves down to the rest of the plant.
Like a highway system.
Yeah, an internal sugar highway. Plant biologists call these tubes the phloem. If you don't have boron keeping that highway open, the sugars just get trapped up in the leaves.
Oh, wow. So the roots would just starve.
Literally starve to death. Yes.
That's wild. Okay, so it builds walls and maintains the sugar roads. What about new growth? Because an oil palm is always pushing out new fronds, right?
Right, and that's the third job. Boron creates the new growing tissue at the very tips of the roots and the shoots.
Like the brand new cells.
Yeah, those actin areas of new cells are called meristems. Boron is completely mandatory for those meristems to work. If boron runs out, the new growth just stops.
The tips just die off.
They just die off.
Man, okay, well, what about the fruit? Because, I mean, that's what pays the bills for the farmer listening right now.
Oh, it directly controls your yield. Boron is responsible for flower development.
Really? Just tiny amounts to do that?
Yeah, specifically, it allows the pollen grains to sprout. When pollen lands on a flower, it has to grow a tiny tube to fertilize it. Boron is what makes that tube grow.
So no boron, no fertilization.
Exactly. The flower never turns into fruit. It dictates what we call fruit set. So ultimately, it completely controls your bunch formation and your fresh fruit bunch yield.
Okay, so if boron is doing all this building walls, running the phloem highway, fertilizing flowers, what happens when the palm runs out?
It gets ugly fast.
Because, wait, with nitrogen,
Oh, yeah.
if the tree is short on nitrogen, it just steals it from the old leaves at the bottom to save the new leaves at the top, right?
Right, it does that with nitrogen. But it cannot do that with boron.
Why not?
Because boron moves incredibly slowly through that sugar transport tube, the phloem. It's just very sluggish.
So it gets stuck.
Yeah, once it's built into an old leaf, it's locked in place. The plant cannot pull boron from the old leaves to save the new ones.
Oh, I see. So the problems are going to show up on the newest parts of the tree first.
Visibly and very quickly. The old leaves look fine, but the new growth is a disaster.
Okay, so if I'm a field advisor or a farmer walking the rows, what am I looking for? What are the signs of a shortage?
Well, because those new cells can't form proper walls, the newest leaves emerge totally deformed. You might look up and see the tips of the leaflets folded over sharply.
Like a hook?
Exactly. The industry calls it hook leaf. Or the leaflets look all wavy and crushed together, almost like a crumpled up piece of paper.
Oh, right. I've heard of that. Crinkle leaf, right?
Yeah, crinkle leaf. And sometimes They just grow completely flattened out, almost fused together like a stiff fan.
And what if the shortage is like really severe and the farmer just ignores it?
Then the leaflets basically stop growing altogether. You just get a tough central stalk with tiny little stubs.
Yikes.
We call those fishbone leaves. Or the fronds completely refuse to open up, which we call blind fronds.
That sounds terrible.
It is. And because they lack structural strength, the leaves become super brittle. They'll literally shatter in the wind.
Wow. Okay, so that's above ground. But what is happening down in the dirt to the roots?
Underground, the roots fail to grow long. Those glowing points, the meristems, they die off.
So the roots just stop.
Yeah, the plant panics and tries to push out side roots, but those fail too, so you end up with these tight clusters of short, thick roots.
Like little dead-end stubs.
Exactly. And those stubby root clusters cannot absorb water or nutrients.
So the whole tree is just shutting down.
Hmm.
Now, what about the bunches? You said earlier that the pollen fails.
Right, a lack of boron leads to fruitlets forming without a kernel or a seed inside.
Wait, it still makes a fruit without a seed?
It tries to. It's a condition called parthenocarpic fruit, but because there's no dense, heavy seed inside, the fruit stays tiny and hollow.
Which means your bunch weight just tanks.
It drastically shrinks the bunch weight, yes. Your yield is gone.
Okay, let me push back on this a little bit. Because, I mean, couldn't orange spots or white stripes or deformed leaves just be a disease? Or maybe a severe lack of potassium or calcium?
Yes, absolutely.
It feels risky to just look at a crinkled leaf and assume, oh, I need boron.
You are 100% right. That is a very common confusion. Potassium shortages, magnesium issues, or even diseases can mimic these exact visual signs.
So you can't just trust your eyes.
No, you cannot rely on eyesight alone to diagnose this. If you guess wrong, you waste money and the tree keeps suffering. You must use tissue and soil testing.
Right. Professional testing. Because let's say a farmer sees a hook leaf, guesses it's boron, and just dumps a huge bucket of it around the tree.
Oh, please don't do that. The margin between just enough boron and deadly poison is razor thin.
Really? It's that sensitive?
Extremely. Too much boron is highly toxic to the oil palm.
What does toxicity look like then?
It shows up as dead, light tan tissue on the tips of the older leaves. It looks burnt. That condition is called necrosis.
Oh, wow.
And underground, it causes a sickly yellowing of the root system right before the roots die.
Okay, so it's a massive risk if you overdo it. So you know it's critical, but only in tiny amounts. Why do oil palms run out of it so often then? Like, where's the boron going?
Well, it easily disappears from the dirt. The absolute biggest enemy is heavy rain.
Just washing it away.
Exactly. Heavy rains wash the nutrients straight out of the root zone, pushing it too deep for the palm to reach. That washing out process is called leaching.
Okay, so if leaching from rain is the biggest problem, does a drought keep the boron safe?
Unfortunately, no. Drought and dry periods stop the roots from working.
Oh, because they need moisture to drink.
Right. They need water to absorb the tiny amount of boron that is actually present in the soil. So if it's bone dry, the palm starves for boron anyway.
Yeah, you can't win. What about the physical farm? Like if you're on a hill?
Planting on steep slopes is a huge issue. It leads to erosion. The rain just washes the boron down the hill before it even sinks in.
And I imagine human error plays a part too.
Oh, massive. Uneven application by workers means some trees get absolutely none, while the tree next to it gets a toxic dose.
Right, because they're just tossing it by hand sometimes.
Yeah.
But here's a question. Why might a field show severe boron shortage even when the soil tests show perfect levels of nitrogen, potassium, and calcium?
Ah, that is the hidden hunger.
A hidden hunger.
Yeah, it's a nutrient clash. Applying too much nitrogen or too much calcium actually blocks the palm from using the boron.
Wait, really? It physically blocks it?
Yes. Plus, if you apply heavy NPK fertilizers, you force the tree into really high vegetative growth.
So it's growing super fast.
Right. And that fast growth rapidly uses up whatever small amount of boron is left.
Wow, okay, so it's basically outgrowing its own boron supply because you pushed it too hard with NPK.
Exactly.
So because leaching the washing away is the main way we lose boron, the exact type of dirt you are farming on completely changes your risk.
Right, yeah, 100%. Your soil type dictates your whole strategy.
Okay, let's break down the soil types, keeping it really simple. Let's start with sandy soils.
Sandy soils are like a sieve. Water flows right through, so you have an extreme risk of leaching.
So what's the fix?
You have to use slow-release boron, and you must split the application into multiple small doses throughout the year, never all at once.
Makes sense. What about peat soils?
Peat soils are naturally very low in boron to begin with, and they flush nutrients out quickly too.
So they need more boron overall.
Yes, they require higher overall rates, but careful monitoring so you don't hit toxic levels.
Yeah.
And good drainage in the peat is essential.
Got it. Now, what if you're on the opposite end? Heavy clay soils.
Heavy clay is great because it holds onto boron much better, which reduces that washout effect.
Okay, but there's a catch, right?
Always, you must monitor for conflicts. If that heavy clay is naturally high in calcium, it will block the boron, just like we talked about with hidden hunger.
Ah, right, the nutrient clash.
Yeah.
Okay, what about strongly acidic mineral soils or acid sulfate soils?
Very difficult dirt. A very low pH, like below 4.5, reduces the soil's ability to hold boron, plus the acid damages the roots.
So they can't absorb anything anyway.
Exactly. For those soils, you need careful liming to bring the pH up to between 4.5 and 6.5. Then the boron can actually work.
Okay, two more. Volcanic soils,
Very well drained and highly productive.
which sounds good.
It is, but because the trees grow so fast, they eat up the boron quickly. And because it drains well, you still get leaching from the rain.
Right. And finally, alluvial soils,
Yeah.
like near rivers or coasts.
Formed by marine sediments, yeah. These often have naturally higher boron content, but you still have to monitor them based on how well that specific patch of dirt holds water.
Okay, so once you know your ground, you actually have to apply the boron. But you said the line between health and toxicity is super thin.
Yes.
So this has to be like precision medicine. What are the practical sources farmers actually use?
The common forms are borate, which dissolves fast. Then there's calcined ulexite, which is great because it has slow release properties.
Good for the sandy soils.
Exactly. And then there are completely soluble powders for liquid sprays.
Let's talk dosage. Because with NPK, farmers are moving tons of fertilizer. How much boron are we talking about?
You have to think in very, very small amounts. Listen to this math. An oil palm field might yield 26 tons of fresh fruit bunches per hectare.
Okay, 26 tons per hectare.
Right. To do that, it removes over 100 kilograms of potassium. But it only exports about 12 to 20 grams of boron per ton of bunches.
Wait, grams?
Just grams.
That's like the weight of a few paper clips per ton of fruit.
Exactly. So for standard soil applications, an immature palm only gets around 50 grams per palm per year.
That is tiny.
Older palms might increase to 100 to 200 grams, but that's per year.
What about the little nursery seedlings?
For seedlings, it's a tiny spray, just 13.6 grams dissolved in 100 liters of water.
Wow. Okay, so safe handling is everything. What are the absolute rules here? The do's and don'ts?
Do apply it evenly around the canopy edge. That's where the active roots live.
Right, the drip line.
Yes. Do split the annual dose into 2 or 3 smaller applications if you're on sandy soil.
To stop the leaching.
Exactly. Do maintain organic matter on the ground, like empty fruit bunches or cover crops. That acts like a sponge to hold the boron.
Good tip. And testing.
Always test leaves and soil regularly.
Okay, and what are the strict do-nots?
Do not ever apply heavy doses all at once. Never apply when soils are flooded or during a massive rainstorm.
Because it just washes away immediately.
Right. And never assume that more is better to get more bunches. More will kill the roots.
Yeah, we covered the toxicity. It's brutal.
Also, do not use household boric acid for foliar sprays. And avoid hotspots.
Hotspots, like dumping it all in one pile.
Yes. Never let a worker dump a pile of fertilizer in one single spot next to the trunk.
Spread it out evenly.
Exactly.
Okay, so because we're talking about such tiny amounts, and the deficiency symptoms look so scary with the shattered leaves and deformed fronds, I feel like this is the perfect setup for fertilizer dealers to trick farmers.
Oh, it happens constantly.
Let's bust some myths here so the listener knows how to spot the lies. First myth. Standard NPK covers everything. A dealer says, just buy this big bag, you don't need extra boron.
That is completely false. Standard NPK blends rarely contain enough boron, and sometimes they don't have any at all. You absolutely cannot replace a good boron program with just NPK.
Okay, what about the miracle sprays? This one product fixes all leaf deformations overnight.
False again. Blindly buying a cure-all wastes your money. And if the real problem was a disease or lack of potassium, you're not fixing anything. Plus, you risk boron toxicity.
Okay, here's a crazy one I've heard online. Household sugar or salt cures boron deficiency.
Pure fiction. And dangerous. There's zero evidence for that home remedy.
Don't salt your soil, folks. What about this? Pushing unsafe doses means more bunches. Just give it 500 grams and watch it explode with fruit.
False. Pushing higher doses guarantees toxicity and yield loss. The roots will just rot.
Okay, last one. Expensive brand names are always better.
False. The plant only cares about the borate molecules, not the logo on the bag.
I love that. The plant doesn't care about the LOBA. So, practically speaking, how should a farmer read the label, and what should they ask the seller?
Always turn the bag around and check for the exact boron percentage. It should say something like 11% or 20.5%.
Look for the actual number.
Yes, and ask the seller simple, direct questions. What is the exact percentage of boron in this?
Right.
Is this water-soluble or slow release? And ask, can you prove this is safe for my specific sandy or peat soil?
Hold them accountable. Make them prove it.
Exactly.
Well, this has been an incredibly practical look at the source material. To wrap up, we always like to leave you with some concrete next steps. So here are 1 to 2 actions you can take tomorrow, focusing entirely on boron.
Get out the field.
Yep. Number 1, walk your sandiest block or your steepest slope tomorrow morning and inspect the youngest leaves for any hook shapes or crinkles.
Those are your high-risk areas.
Exactly. Number 2, go to your shed and read the label on your current fertilizer to see exactly what percentage of boron you are actually giving your palms right now.
Don't just guess. Know the math.
Right. And here are 1 to 2 decisions for the next month. 1, decide to schedule a professional soil and leaf tissue test before you buy your next batch of fertilizer.
Critical. It's the only way to know for sure.
And 2, decide to split your upcoming boron application into 2 smaller doses to prevent leaching, especially if you have sandy soil.
It will save you a lot of money in washed-away fertilizer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, one final provocative thought for you to explore on your own. As global weather patterns continue to shift, bringing much heavier and less predictable rainfall to a lot of growing regions, how is your soil going to handle it? If extreme leaching becomes the new normal, will your current fertilizer strategy survive, or will your yield just wash down the river?
That's a serious question for the future.
It really is. Thanks for listening.